Welcome to the Audrey Hall Show. I'm your host, Audrey Hall. Today, we'll be talking about the Callahan Center in Framingham. It's a hub of the community, providing an incredible array of services and resources for the 55-plus population. And even if you're familiar with the Callahan Center, there's a very good chance you'll find yourself saying, wow, I didn't know that during this show, because I'll be talking to 4 members of the leadership team in detail about what Callahan has to offer. Joining me first is Randy Aylsworth, Director of Aging Services. Now, when Randy was promoted into the director position in the spring of 2023, he had already been working at Callahan for 8.5 years, 6 as the assistant director. He also worked for 15 years at Phillips Lifeline and earned his Master of Science in the Management of Aging Services from the University of Massachusetts. It's so nice to have you here today, Randy. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Audrey. It's great being here, and thank you for highlighting the Callahan Center.
Oh, there's so much to share with the community because there's so much going on, and I hope we can cover a lot today. We'll never get to all of it.
Absolutely.
We're going to leave that up to people to discover on their own, but let's give them a good appetizer.
Sounds good.
Tell us first, though, let's talk about how the Callahan Center came to exist in Framingham. What's a little bit of the history there?
The history of the Callahan Center is interesting because it started in 1967. So right now we're 57 years old. And it started in downtown Framingham, down by the downtown library. It had a Pearl Street location for the Callahan Center at that particular point in a very small area. So over time, it moved into the current location, which is at 535 Union Ave, which is right next to Bowditch Field. And in our location now, over the years, moving into that location, we've been there now since 2005, trying to serve the older adult population in Framingham, which, as you know, is growing.
Growing very much. How many older adults, 55 and over, would you say there are in Framingham?
Right now, I've been able to confirm with the city and through the federal census. Altogether, there are 20,000 people in the city of Framingham that are age 55 and older. So that is our group that we're supposed to serve, 20,000 out of the 72,000. So that brings it up to about 28% of the total population is that 55 plus.
Now, we all know that, the Callahan Center obviously operates under the city of Framingham. It's a part of the city of Framingham. And it falls within which department?
It falls within the Division of Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs. So along with Parks and Recreation Maintenance and the programming there, also Loring Arena, and then the Callahan Center is in that division.
Which is headed up by Jim Snyder?
Headed up by Jim Snyder. He is the director of that division.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how are you funded? Is it only by tax dollars, or are there other means of funding that help support everything that you have going on?
Yeah, it's an interesting operation. Right now for the Callahan Center, it has about 72% of its funding comes from the city of Framingham. So we're fortunate right now in our current fiscal year to have a budget around $729,000. Then we have about another 24% of our funding comes from the state. So we have a very large grant that comes out to the Callahan Center, and it's all determined on a formula. It determines how many people are in your community that are 60 and over, and then it multiplies that times $15 for each one. So that gives us right there about over a couple $100,000 more in funding.
Right, so you're not quite at $1 million yet? Or?
We've reached $1 million for the very first time in our history, because if you add in some of the other grants that we get, usually they're smaller grants. So we're always applying for some sort of grants. We have like a supportive daycare grant that's about $18,000. There's one for a new home sharing program that we currently are doing. We got $10,000 for that. So when you add all the money together, it's just a little over $1 million.
What percentage of the city budget is that?
Right now, it's very, very small, and that has always been the case. And it is really for any council and aging department in any community. So right now, Parks and Recreation might be 1.5% of the total budget. Within that, you're looking at the Callahan probably being just a small portion of that. So with the overall budget, you're probably talking, very, very small amount.
What does that cover?
And that covers all of our programming, covers our services that we try to offer. So when you look at the Callahan Center, one way to look at it is from a larger perspective. When I try to manage the center, we have an area for social services that we offer older adults. We have also an area for programming. So some of that funding goes toward that programming. We have a transportation program as well. And so when we add all that up together in the day-to-day operation of the Callahan Center, that's what that $1 million goes towards.
How big is the staff?
The staff right now, we're up to 19 people on the staff, which is one of the larger staffs that we've ever had. We are looking for more, so we probably will be up around 21, 22 staff members, probably within the next year. So it's a large operation, but it's because the population is so large in Framingham. When you think of that, going back to that number we were mentioning earlier, that there are 20,000 people in the community, now think of the potential, and not all of those 20,000 come to the Callahan Center.
Right.
So trying to offer services to that many people, it's really, the budget right now is good, but I'm always looking to increase that because the need is increasing.
Well, and for the size staff, to just hit $1 million with 19 on the staff feels like it might be something you're aspiring to increase.
Yes.
And I think as the population's growing, the needs are going to be there for sure. Yeah. But the question then becomes, if the state is giving you a grant based on 60 and over, and you're serving 55 and up, what is the actual breakdown, do you think, or do you have an idea of the people actually using the services at Callahan?
Well, it's very interesting. This particular aging field is fascinating because there are so many changes. There are people out there who feel maybe 55 may be considered too young to be considered an older adult. And in that particular case, we are not seeing a lot of 55-year-olds right now come to the center. If we do see them, it's mainly because they need information to help an 85-year-old mother or father.
Sure.
So they're more of a caregiver type of role in that age group. Starting at age 60, then we start to see more people coming in to use the services that consider themselves more older adults. But even nowadays, when you're at age 60, many people don't consider themselves older adults because the population is living longer. And to find 90-year-olds in our community, there are a number of them. So people are living longer. And that's part of the challenge for this field. The population is so large because people are living longer.
Right. And I think, though, that people of all ages use things like a fitness center or want to play ping pong or want to attend classes or lectures or whatever. And so you don't have to be at the older end of this range to want to use services like that. And it sounds like things are pretty reasonable in terms of the offerings there. You try to keep it that way even though you have a low budget?
Yeah, we do. So basically, if you want to, for example, take an exercise class at the Callahan Center, it's just $3. And you just pay your $3 as you take a class. So you pay as you go. There is no monthly membership fee. And that makes it very popular. So it makes it affordable for people to come in, and for $3, they'll get a 1-hour exercise class. And we offer 7 different exercise classes.
Well, in today's show, obviously you brought other staff members. We're going to be talking to them about programming, about social services, and transportation, other things that are offered. So we can get into some of that detail, hopefully, but it really just shows that even though people, like you said, at age 55 may come more for resources for an older parent, there are things that they may not know about, like using a fitness room or something else at the Callahan Center that really pertains and services people of almost any age. So that's great to know. Yeah. What about, since elder affairs, or I know they're getting away from that term now, but since the aging population is sometimes vulnerable, there are probably a lot of regulations that you have to follow, or are you regulated?
Well, we have in the world of social services, and you'll have our Lisa Ushkurnis here later to talk about that. She'll follow certain guidelines and be able to offer services out to people. We're not bound so much by that, so we got some freedom there. Only if there's a particular issue that may happen, then we have to follow sort of the state regulations to make sure that they're okay. And in Lisa's world with social services, we have 2 full-time social workers. They will be dealing with certain regulations in order to offer services there altogether. But it's interesting when you mention the number of people we have in our community, where we're offering for people that 20,000 and trying to bring in the younger people. We try to keep the Callahan Center very vibrant. And it's a very vibrant center. So there's a certain...
How do you do that?
We do that by offering a variety of programming. And the programming could be more culturally based. It could be exercise classes. It could be health education. It could be community education. And we do it in a variety of ways that when you come in there, you're walking in the door of a very busy community center. It has a feel to it, and it has that vibe, that vibrancy to it, which is wonderful that we have there.
Great.
Yeah.
Can anybody walk in at any time? Is there a membership policy? How does that happen for anyone who wants to get involved or check out any of the things that you offer?
So they can come in anytime. We're open right now, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. They can come right in the door, walk around the Callahan Center. If they need a tour, we'll give it to them. We'll explain all the programs and services to them. And at that point, they can just feel free to walk around. There is no membership to any Council on Aging department or senior center in Massachusetts. And anyone can live in another community and come over and enjoy another community's senior center as well. But
so you have people from other towns and cities, yeah?
We do. We probably right now have about 80 to maybe 85% of the people are Framingham residents that utilize our services, but another 15% could be a surrounding 10 communities, and they come on a regular basis. And the Callahan Center, because we're in a large community like Framingham, we're sort of viewed like it to be a hub for the Metro West. So it's very common to see other people come over because they may live in a community that's very small. They may not have as many programs or as many services, so we welcome them as well.
Any additional fees for them since they don't live in Framingham? Are they treated any differently?
No, they're not treated any differently. They're all treated the same, and that's a policy we've always had, and we're not looking to change that because we know with our funding, we know with the people coming in the door, it's still about 85% Framingham people that are coming in.
Now, so how many people are actually using it?
Well, right now, our numbers are amazing. And looking at 2024, for the Callahan Center, it was a year of growth. So that was the number one theme for us. Because in 2023, 31,000 visits to the Callahan Center. So 31,000 for that year. Last year in 2020.
Not people, but visits.
Visits.
Okay.
That's right. So it could be the same person.
Be 10,000 people coming 3 times, whatever.
Exactly. So that was 31,000 visits in 2023. Last year in 2024, it was 37,000. So we grew by 17% in 1 year.
And how does that compare to, everything slowed down during COVID? How does that compare to pre-COVID?
It finally has gotten us, in 2024 numbers, have gotten us back to the pre-pandemic numbers. So really in our world, the pandemic's gone. The numbers have now come back, and it took a number of years to really get it back from the pandemic of 2020 because our population, it hit them hard. It was hard for them to come out of the house. Some of them felt very vulnerable at that point. And so it gradually grew, and to see it now come back fully is great to see.
And growing.
And growing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So what have you changed? You were there for many years before you actually became the director. Now, in your director role, having had all of that history there must have been things that you wanted to change and that you envisioned, and now you have the opportunity as the leader of the organization to take on some of those things. What are they?
Yeah, some of the changes I wanted to make, and it's great being in this position because one of the first things I had to do coming in, we had 40% vacancies at the Callahan Center. Of staff.
Okay.
And so priority one was really hiring that staff. And now some of the people we're going to see today on this show are the reason why we've had this substantial growth, whether it's Teri Shea in programming, Lisa Ushkurnis and Cheryl Lavalle in social services, or Noelia Valdez. We hired that staff. So that once I got the staff in place, then we could then introduce new programming. And so we have, there are many new types of programming that we're now offering, which is great. Social services, now they're whole and they can offer quite a bit as well. One of the things that allowed us with growth is to come up with some new things. So one of the initiatives were collaborations, that everything happened sort of in silos in the past. A lot of municipal departments operated in their own individual department, trying to keep up with their workload. But I found at the Callahan Center, we weren't collaborating enough with even other city departments. So now, on a regular basis, we'll have the police chief come in. The fire department is there, Department of Public Works. Now we have upwards of 12 different divisions that come into the Callahan Center to visit us. The public is now coming in because now they get an opportunity to ask the police chief some questions. They could ask Sarkisian about planning and development in Framingham and housing. So we have all the main players in Framingham that are municipal workers now coming down to the Callahan Center. And that's established. So that was one of the changes that we have.
How often are you doing that?
We're trying to do that on a monthly basis, have a different division in. Sometimes we'll get 2 or 3 divisions in for the month. So we could have the mayor come in. We've already tried to schedule him for May. The police chief is coming in March. So on a regular basis, and we're trying to establish that connection. That has helped because people feel they have a voice now in their community, and they can get
and they have access, because people have questions and they want information, and they don't always feel that they can go right to the source to get it,
That's
right to the leader or the person in charge.
Yes.
So that's a great opportunity. How do people find out about when these things are going to occur and how they can participate?
Well, it sort of goes back to our population too. We do it certainly through our newsletter. So the Callahan Courier goes out every month, and that goes out to approximately 880 people. Then we also have on Facebook. So we are on the Facebook page with Parks and Recreation. So we have a social media presence as well. If people come into the Callahan Center, we're always advertising there. They are at the center. So we're trying to hit people in multiple ways because if you think about it, the people we're serving are 55 up to 100. And how you market to them is very different if someone's 55 or 65 to someone who's 85 or 95.
Sure, but I think that's a challenge these days, no matter what age, is how to get in touch with people. It's a lot harder than it used to be. Everything is so fragmented.
Yeah.
What do you encourage? Do you encourage people to come in, get on, or how can they get on the email list? If you're saying you're sending out to like 800 and something people a month, how can people get on that list?
Now that particular list is actually through the Friends of Callahan, which is a fundraising group that raises money for the Callahan Center, and it comes back to support our programs and services. But they just give us a call at the Callahan Center. We'll make sure that they get that newsletter, and they don't have to pay that membership. They can if they want, and there is an annual membership for it, and that's the only membership really associated with the Callahan Center. So the Callahan Center itself doesn't have a membership per se. People can just come in, enjoy the center for free. Most everything that they have there that they can enjoy, all the services programs are free. If they want to take an exercise class, that might be $3.
Right, but the Friends of Callahan, the fundraising group, you're saying, is the group that sends the email out with all of the activities and everything on it.
Yeah.
And so to get on that list, I mean, I know from being on the Council on Aging, and I am also a member of the Friends of Callahan. I get a monthly magazine, Callahan Courier.
Yeah.
Does that come with the membership? And only with the membership,
That
right?
does. It only comes with that
Right.
membership. Yeah.
So the question, and the membership's like $15
It's
a
also
year.
online too.
It's also online?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. So
Yes.
where online can people find that?
So they would go to the City of Framingham website, and then when they go there, they would go down to the Council on Aging. And when you're on that web page for the Council on Aging, you'll see a link to the Callahan Courier, and they can see that same information for free.
Okay,
And
that's
they-
really important because that will help people see everything that's available that they can participate in.
That's right.
Although, do you promote the municipal department heads that are coming down? Are they listed in there as well?
They're listed in there as well.
Oh, okay.
So if the mayor's coming in May, which he's planning to come, we will promote that event so everybody will know about that. If it's a police chief, coming up in March. So they're all well promoted there. The Callahan Courier ends up being a very comprehensive source of everything that we actually do. So if you get a chance to look at the Callahan Courier online, or if you want a paper version, we could send it out to someone. That will tell you everything that we're doing.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
important, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that when I get to talk to Teri in a little while, we'll go into that in more depth.
Sure.
While I have you here, though, I still want to talk a little bit about some of your the things you're most proud of, the things you're hoping to accomplish in the future.
Yeah, I think in the future, what I would like to see when I stepped into the role as director in March 2023, one of the things I want to aim for, and we have done it with the staff, is be more diverse. So we hear about diversity frequently in Framingham, but I found that the Callahan Center wasn't as diverse as I would like it to see it be. So at this point, when I hired staff, our staff is much more diverse now. And we went from speaking 2 languages to speaking 5. So now we have people in place that if someone comes in the door at the Callahan Center, they'll be able to interact with someone.
What languages?
The languages right now are Hindi. We also have variations of that. Urdu, and also there's Punjabi. There's also Spanish and Portuguese. So we're looking to expand that. I want to go even further, maybe 6, 7 languages.
Do you feel that those languages will make it a more welcoming place for other members of the community? Is that what you're hoping to do? Expand the participation and the use of the facility with more of the population?
I think so, because when I look at the data, when I first came into the role, I didn't see it as diverse as I would like it. And what happens, that told me that maybe people weren't coming in because people weren't speaking their language.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as welcoming to them, so they would stay in other areas, other sources, speak to people that spoke their primary language. So it told me that I needed to get the word out there. For example, typically in a senior center, you might see a group that will get together and they're Spanish speaking, and it will happen on a Thursday. And that's wonderful for that group that gets together and speaks, and they enjoy it. But what I'm looking for is to take that further in the future. The diversity that I'm talking about is expanding that everyone in the community, whatever your language is fully aware of all the services and programs that we offer, so that they can take advantage of what we are. So for example, we do Shine open enrollment appointments, and which are Medicare health appointments. And there's an organization called Shine that actually you can sit down with them for an hour, and they will do that appointment, and they'll give you advice on which maybe drug prescription plan to sign up for.
So when that happens every year where people have to choose their coverage, if they're on Medicare, you have consultants that help people make those choices? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. So that organization Shine will do it. Now they're 12 months out of the year. The open enrollment is basically happening from October 15th to December 7th. So it becomes very, very intense in that time. We did over 500 appointments during that time.
Ooh,
but
that's a lot.
Going back to the diversity piece, where it helps is if most of those appointments are done in English, because most of their volunteers are speaking English. But if I have staff that can speak Portuguese or Spanish, let's say, or Hindi, then they can go in for that appointment for an hour with someone. And having a person that can speak your primary language for a 1-hour appointment, talking about medications, is much better than doing it with a translator over a telephone.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's the benefit. That's why I want to bring those people in, to allow people to come in to feel welcome. And when we become more diverse, now they'll come in for Shine open enrollment appointments. They'll be able to enjoy the programming. We have programming now where you can see movies in Spanish. You can come in and enjoy everything, all the services programming. So the diversity is one of those things that you mentioned for the future. That's one of those goals I want for the center. That's just one of them. Another one might be technology. Right now for people, they typically call us. They sign up for whatever programs they want to attend during the month, and then that's it. If they come into the center, they can fill out a little checklist and turn it in at the front desk. But I want to get more online for the programming.
Make it easier, make it simpler, seamless, a little seamless.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. More seamless, and that people can do it on their own, maybe not have to interact with anyone, just go online and register for a program. So we're working to get there with technology as well, because there's a certain segment of that 55 group, 55 plus group, that is on technology, and they're looking to sign up in that manner.
Sure.
Other folks, they may just want to talk to us over the phone.
Sure.
And see us in person. So
good.
We're trying to accommodate in all ways for them.
Now, you mentioned Shine and how many appointments in helping people select their programs through Medicare and with the consultation services you have. There's no fee for that?
There's no fee for that.
What other similar types of consultation programs do you have?
We have another one would be AARP. They come in to do tax appointments. So last year we did over 300 tax appointments for free. So we partner with AARP.
Meaning that people get their taxes done for free?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it is amazing. It's very popular. So people come to us, they come back every year. And then once again, being able to do that to identify and help people out in different languages.
Do they have to have pretty simple taxes, or?
They look for income up to about $100,000 a year. So most people come in, they're sort of basic. If there's anything very complex, they probably would refer to someone else.
Sure.
But we find that 99% of the time, they're able to prepare their taxes for them.
So making all of these services available for a multilingual population is one of your goals.
Yes.
That's an aggressive goal and a good goal.
Yes.
It's very welcoming. Yeah. And what about the state level? Is there any interaction with the state level on Council on Aging, Elder Affairs?
Yeah, with the state level, recently we had a visit with the Assistant Secretary of Elder Affairs, Jody Bridell. That was wonderful. One of my initiatives is to reach out at the state level as well, and with other organizations within the state, to have Framingham and the Callahan Center have more of a presence. Now, the benefit is that they're aware of us, so when I ask for funding and look for a grant, they'll say, well, I already know Randy at the Callahan Center. He's already called me up, try to build that relationship. I'm currently on the board of directors for the Massachusetts Councils on Aging, and that's an organization, sort of the organization that works with Councils on Aging. Because I'm on that board of directors, I get into meetings just with the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. There might be just 17 directors in the state, and I'm Framingham is at the table. So now when I meet with Jody Bridell or Robin Lipson, who is the Secretary of Elder Affairs in Massachusetts, I'm in that meeting and I'm hearing about the latest funding for Framingham. And I'm able to put my name in and hear about things early on and get Framingham at the table. Right now I'm at the table with Boston, Worcester, Newton, many large communities, and then there's some smaller ones in the western part of the state. So making those connections at the state level has been very beneficial. They're aware of Framingham, they're aware of our needs, and the recent visit was very successful.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. Yeah. It's really amazing to hear about all the offerings and the growth that you're experiencing and the growth in the older population in Framingham as well. And I appreciate you coming here today to talk about all of this. I think it's very, very helpful to get that information out there. So I just want to thank you so much for being my guest today, and I look forward to talking to some of your other staff members, and I'll have to have you back to give us updates. Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to come back. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. And this has been a wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure that you have already experienced some of those I didn't know that moments listening to Randy. Well, There's more of those to come. After this short break, I'll be joined by Assistant Director of Aging Services, Noelia Valdez. We'll be right back.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Joining me now is Noelia Valdez, and she began her role as Assistant Director of Aging Services at the Callahan Center back in July of 2024. But she was no stranger to Framingham. Before joining the Callahan team, she was the office manager for the Framingham Public Health Department for 7 years. It's really nice to have you here, Noelia, and welcome you to the Audrey Hall Show.
Hi.
And I would love to hear what made you interested in moving from the Framingham Public Health Department over to the Callahan Center.
Hi, Audrey. Thank you for having me. And back when I used to work at the Public Health Department, one of the things, well, first of all, my educational background is in accounting. And
You're a
I used
numbers
to be
person.
Exactly. But during COVID, we got to help so many people.
At
So
the
I
health
discovered,
department,
yes, the health
obviously,
department, yes.
It was a health issue.
So I
yeah.
discovered that I had a passion for helping. It felt so good every time I would help somebody. So once I saw the position opened up at the Callahan Center, I thought that my helping skills would be better used if I moved over to the Callahan Center. So that's why I made the decision to go over there, because I think I am a good asset over there in helping. I am Spanish. I was born in the Dominican Republic, so Spanish is my first language, and I thought I could help a lot of people with my language skills at the Callahan Center.
Oh, that's
the
invaluable.
same that I helped at the health department.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So how's your whole feeling about wanting to help people? Have you fulfilled that through this work at the Callahan?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Every time somebody comes in that speaks either Spanish or Portuguese, I am able to speak to them in their own native language. I do speak a little bit of Portuguese. I'm not 100% fluent in Portuguese, but I do speak it a little. So I have been fulfilling it either on the phone or in person when they come in, when they have questions, when they're looking for programs or anything that we do.
Well, that's wonderful, because in my prior conversation with Randy, he was talking about how one of his big goals was to bring more multilingual employees onto the staff so that people of all backgrounds in Framingham feel more comfortable and more included at the Callahan Center. Can you see that happening already with you being there?
I do. I see it happening. I have had a couple of members come in and thank me for helping them in their own native language. And that's the part that I loved about doing it at the health department. And I'm getting it over there at Callahan as well.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So you have some initiatives that you are in charge of. Reading about your, when you took the position, obviously hiring, training people that work at the front desk is one of those things. And, you know, there's a whole transportation service that's available there that you oversee?
Yes, I do. I oversee the Callahan Center Share Band ride services in collaboration with the MWRTA. This is a service that's available for 55 plus Framingham residents. And it travels from Framingham, within Framingham, and to Market Basket as well. Yeah.
Well, I think that service is just so valuable, but not a lot of people know about it. How does it work? How, first of all, how many vans are there?
So we only have one van.
One van.
Yes.
And what are the hours that it's available? It takes people from their home to wherever they want to go?
Yes, it's a door-to-door service.
How does it do that with so many different places people might want to go and so many different people?
So once you apply and we verify that you are within the age range, 55 plus.
And that's the only criteria,
That's
right?
the only criteria.
Living in Framingham.
Living in Framingham.
55
and
plus.
55 plus.
Okay.
Yes. So once you qualify, you'll be able to call the MWRTA call center. Make an appointment. It's by appointment only.
Okay.
So you do need to call 48 hours before the time that you need the service and schedule your ride. So we're able to then go pick you up. The MWRTA gives them a call the night before to remind them of their appointment and says, hey, you have a ride tomorrow. We're gonna go pick you up. We pick them up at home, drive them to where they need to go, pick them up where they are, and then drive them back home. So, for example, if somebody has a doctor's appointment, we pick them up from home, drive them to the doctor's, pick them back from the doctor's appointment, and drive them back home.
And what are the hours that they provide these rides?
So Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3:30.
Okay.
And Friday, 9 to 2. And then Wednesdays mornings, we only go to Market Basket. And then Friday all day, we only go to Market Basket as well.
Okay, so it's a little limited in terms of destinations.
Yes, so it's
Okay,
only
and
within
hours.
Framingham, and the only one that we do outside of Framingham is Market Basket.
Okay, will you be expanding that at all?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
We are working with MWRTA to see if we could get either a second van or expand it to be outside of Framingham. But we don't have a date yet.
So if someone says, oh, tomorrow I need to go somewhere, I'm going to call and get a ride, they can only do that if they pre-register with Callahan, right?
Yes, yes, they do.
So
They
what
have to
number do they
pre-register.
call for that?
So they can call the main number.
Which is what?
508-532-5980.
Okay.
And they'll be able to, they can either come by and fill out an application, or they can give us their address and we can mail them the application.
Okay, but they have to fill out an
They
application.
do, yes.
And then they'll be notified that they've been approved?
So yes, they were notified by our customer service rep. She will give them a call and say, hey, you do qualify for the van. You can now start scheduling rides.
Okay. And then to schedule the rides, you said they call the
MWRTA,
which is in Framingham.
Which is in Framingham, yes.
Metro West Regional Transit.
Yes, and then the customer service rep will give them that phone number and give them details on how they can call and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, great. And what about there's another program, the tax work-off program that you oversee. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, that's the Senior Property Tax Work-Off Program. So this program is for Framingham residents as well that are 62 and older and that have owned their home for more than 5 years. So you'll be able to work a total of 67 hours and get $1,000 credit for your property taxes.
67 hours over what period of time?
Oh, well, it depends. But it mainly runs from August until the following July.
Okay, so almost a year.
Almost a year,
So you
yeah.
can spread those 67 hours
Yes.
out over almost a year and get
Yes.
$1,000 off your property
Yes.
taxes. Can they call that same number to find out about that
Yes,
program?
they can. Yeah, they
Okay,
can ask
because
for
we'll
me.
put that up and we'll make sure people have the number to
Yes,
call.
yes.
Quickly before we go, any other things that you'd like to highlight about what you're hoping to accomplish and what you feel you've already accomplished since you've come on board at the Callahan Center as the assistant director?
Well, I hope I can, like I said, continue to help people that speak the same language as I do. And when I first moved to Framingham or the United States, we migrated in 1997. And it was very difficult to find somebody that spoke our language anywhere that we went to here in Framingham. We did migrate to Framingham. And I don't want that. I want people to come into the Callahan Center, and if they need a ride, I'm able to give them the ride. If they need a ride to their doctors, I'm able to help them get a ride to the doctors. If they need $1,000 off, they're able to come in and they feel comfortable asking, because I think there is a lot of need in the community, but since they don't have somebody that speaks their language, they are afraid to call. So that's what I'm planning on accomplishing.
Well, those are great goals.
Yes.
Sounds like you're on target and you're heading towards getting all of these things accomplished. So thank you for having the time and taking the time to be here today. And it was great to introduce you to the community, those who haven't met you yet. And I look forward to having you back sometime.
Good. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
So again, I thank Noelia Valdez for being here today. And although there's a constant effort to provide information about the door-to-door van rides that she coordinates with the MWRTA, the availability of that service continues to surprise people. So maybe you can help spread the word. And coming up after this short break, an in-depth discussion about the programs at Callahan with Teri Shea. She's the programs manager. We'll be right back.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."
I'm here now with Teri Shea. She is the programs manager at the Callahan Center. She actually joined the Callahan team in the role that she's in right now in the fall of 2024, after having worked for many years as a teacher in both the Framingham and public schools, and she brings an incredible passion for theater and arts to her work. So welcome, Teri. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much.
How does that passion for theater and arts and all your experience teaching get translated into the work you're doing at the Callahan Center?
Well, directing a play with students is a lot of organization and trying to choose a play that an audience is going to want to come to see and that the kids are going to want to be interested in working on. And I sort of use those things. What does the senior center, senior in Framingham need?
Right.
What do they want to come to do to see a performance or something entertaining, and then as well as educational? What is it that they need, and how can I get those people to come into the Callahan and share their information with our participants? So
what has been exciting in terms of the programming that you've been able to do and head up since you've been in this role?
I have just fallen in love with the seniors and the participants in Framingham. They always come with ideas. So a lot of the things that the performances and presentations we have are because someone came to me and gave me a name or a postcard or a website. Some of the best presenters that we've had are because somebody said, this is someone who should come, or you're gonna love this performer. So it has all been outside of my skill set, my knowledge. I didn't really know any of this happened at senior centers. I didn't know there were people who went to senior centers to do things like this. But now I've been able to get references, and the participants are the best at
So you get recommendations for guest speakers, for lectures, for performances, that kind of thing, and you try to vet them all out and see which ones might be of the greatest interest. Is that kind of your process?
Yeah, and I do that for both the performances and presentations. So we'll have, singers and piano players, musicians, people like that come in. We also have college professors who come in and do presentations, sort of like a lecture on different topics, Whitey Bulger, or different historical events that have happened, or people. But I do the same with fitness. So I'm also responsible for organizing all of our fitness. And
like yoga classes?
Like we have yoga, Zumba, Tai Chi, strength and cardio, mobility, stretch and balance. And those classes, when people come to me and say, we would like this, well, then I put on my thinking cap and go, how can I make that happen? And so in my year, we've added several new classes. So, we've always had a mobility, stretch, and balance class. I'm really fortunate. We have amazing fitness instructors that were there before I got there. They're amazing. And the fitness classes, people think they're for seniors, but it's not. It's a workout. They are fitness classes. It's a good workout.
That's good.
So, but when they ask for something, so we've always had the mobility class. And so somebody asked for a seated mobility, a version of the class where they didn't have to get up out of the chairs. And so we've started that, and it's been very successful. And we've got a whole new group of people coming to work out who may have been intimidated about trying to do this workout with these very fit seniors. And now they can do the same stretching and balance and all of this workout from a chair, from a seated position.
That's wonderful. What are the fees? How do people sign up? How do you get the information?
So our fitness classes are $3 or $4 for an hour-long class, and you just pay when you go. So you can come in and join a class and try it out and see if you like it. We also have a meditation class that costs $3 for an hour. It's very popular. It's very calm. I don't do well there. I have a lot of energy. So, so those classes all cost $3. We also have a fitness center that you can pay $2 for an hour and work out in our fitness center. We have about 8 pieces of equipment, and you can sort of work out at your own pace rather than try to keep up with a Zumba class, and there's strength training and things like that. And then we also, most of our performances and presentations are free. Most of what we do, most of what I plan most days are free. Some things are supported through the Cultural Council and the Friends of Callahan. So the Friends of Callahan and the Cultural Council, I write 2 grants from the Cultural Council, and they support a lot of the larger, more fun
That's wonderful.
presentations.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And Randy had mentioned the Friends of Callahan as the fundraising branch of the organization. And so are some of these events that you plan in collaboration with fundraising for the Friends so that money can be used to support other things?
So I don't work with them on the fundraising as much as I help them spend the money that they've raised. So they will do fundraising, and then when I'm looking for a program to come in or some food for an event, I can go to them and they will help me be able to fund the programs that I'm looking for. So I work on the other side.
What would you say are some of the biggest events that you organize in a year?
So in the last year, we've actually started in-person luncheons, which we hadn't done since 2019. So it was like reinventing the wheel. I had not been there in 2019 to see what a luncheon looked like. And so we've started them again. And we have 3 major luncheons a year. We have the Jewels Luncheon, which is part of our senior week.
Jewels.
The Jewels Luncheon is for people in their 90s. It's kind of like a birthday party for people in their 90s. And there are a lot of people in their 90s here in Framingham. And then we have a Veterans Luncheon, which we just had in November. And veterans and their spouses attend the Veterans Luncheon. And then we have a Volunteer Luncheon, which we have not yet had, but we are looking forward to in April, which is like Volunteer Month. We're going to host our first Volunteer Luncheon.
Wonderful.
Back.
Wonderful. Yeah. Now, you get all this information out in the Courier?
I do.
Do you want to show everyone? Randy, I think, and I spoke briefly about the Courier and how people can become members of Friends and get the Courier, but it's also online, right?
It is online.
So this particular magazine lists everything that's going on?
It's supposed to. That is my job, to make sure that it lists everything in it. So
okay, good.
That is the plan, yeah.
Good. Okay.
And it also will have information and on different, sometimes there's an article about different things. If different groups will, highlight the different groups.
Well, thank you so much. There's so much that you're organizing and preparing all to meet the needs of the community and make everybody happy with the resources and services that are available. So it's great work that you're doing, and thanks for coming today to talk about it.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Up next, we're going to talk to our next guest about the social services support that are available at the Callahan Center, and that will be with Lisa Ushkurnis. She's actually the social services director. We'll be right back.
How you holding up? Nothing wrong with getting help.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
At the Callahan Center, social services staff members provide a broad range of support services, including assistance with applying for benefits and referrals for services that many other organizations can provide. Callahan's Director of Social Services is Lisa Ushkurnis. She's a licensed clinical social worker who has worked in hospitals, in outpatient services, and throughout the community. And in 2016, the Massachusetts Council on Aging recognized Lisa with the Innovator of the Year Award for 2 extraordinary dementia programs that she designed and implemented. It's such a pleasure to have you here, Lisa. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Could you provide an overview of the social services referrals, programs, offerings at Callahan?
Right. So we work with older adults who are 55 and over and adult children. And that means their family member lives in Framingham, but they live not in Framingham. So we work with a lot of adult children on the phone or when they come into our office. We do a lot of information and referrals. People call us with all kinds of questions. If I don't know the answer, we try to figure out. We refer people to agencies that specialize in different programming that they need as well.
So in other words, you're getting calls from adult children who may not live in Framingham.
Correct, but their
who have
family
parents
member does.
or family members in
Right.
Framingham.
Right, who
and
are
they're saying,
caregivers, yeah.
you know, my mom, my dad, whoever it is, you know, needs some help.
That happens a lot after the holidays. Somebody comes home for the holidays and they realize the house has lots of hoarding in it, that the house has not been cleaned, that the medication hasn't been taken, and they're alarmed, and they start making phone calls, and they often start with us, and we get them in the right direction. We consult with them, we give them options, we're offered to do a home visit if necessary. So we try to give them as many options as possible. And a lot of it depends on what funding people have, what money they have available. People think they're gonna go to assisted living. I'll go to assisted living. They have no idea how much it is. And they think the city of Framingham is gonna send a homemaker to your home. We don't do that. Other places do it, but we refer people to that. We work with a lot of older adults that have comprehensive problems. A lot of it's medical, a lot of it's depression, social isolation. They lose a spouse, they lose an income. They're having difficulty paying their rent and their taxes and their mortgage and their water bill. And so people call us for a variety of things, and we try to work on whatever we can work on to get them to be at a better place and going in the right direction.
They must find that very comforting and helpful to have someone or some people that they can at least call and get some of this assistance and support from, because it has to be very lonely and isolating, especially for those people who do live out of town and are trying to look out for what's best for their family member.
Right, exactly. A lot of older adults don't prepare as they age. So when you break your leg, you go to rehab, and that's a whole new experience. And so people often call us about recommendations for rehabs or nursing homes. And we give them recommendations. We don't give one recommendation, we give multiple recommendations. And I recommend places that people give me feedback on, good and bad feedback.
Have you noticed changes in what's out there and what people's needs are? Have you seen any trends or changes?
The biggest trend is housing about to be insecure because of the cost of water bills, taxes, oil.
So in other words, you're getting calls from people who are saying, I can't stay here, I can't afford it. Well, what do they do, and what do you help them? What do you tell them?
We have lots of discussions about what all the options could be. People don't want to leave their home. They don't know that there are organizations that you can pay to help you downsize. People, I can never move. Who's going to help me with all my stuff? Well, you can pay somebody to do that. And we also give ideas on, going to different places to see what you feel about it. When you walk into a place, what kind of feeling do you have? What's the culture like? So we tell people, to do some of their homework. Definitely be doing their homework.
Oh, okay. Now, that's a big trend with housing, and it has to do with what you said, mostly rising costs.
Rising cost, and when a spouse passes away and Social Security changes, the budget's completely in disarray, and they don't want to touch any of their savings, so they really are having a hard time, which is why we created a home share program called Metro West Home Share. We're doing it with Jewish Family Services of Metro West, and we're trying to locate older adults who have a home, 3 or 4 bedrooms, they live alone, they want a little companionship perhaps, and they'd like a little bit of help to pay for their taxes and water bill, et cetera.
I mean, it sounds like a good idea. Are people open to it?
We're in a pilot program at the moment. We have not had a lot of people that want to open up their home yet. I think in another 4 or 5 years, when people have lived in dorms and lived in apartments and didn't get married when they were 19, they'll be really open-minded, like, yeah, I can share a bedroom. We have 2 different lives. You can rent a room and,
I have an extra bedroom in my 5-bedroom house,
Yeah,
they might say.
exactly.
I can have somebody come here.
More people are looking at this as an option. And the person who can stay in their home, who owns a home, the person who needs to move or wants to move is in a nice home as well. And we do a really thorough evaluation and assessment and all the legal, criminal background checks and everything.
So you said this is a pilot. Is anyone in the pilot yet?
We have a number of matches that we've matched people. We have a number of people that had different expectations, and so when we tried to see if it was going to be compatible, it really wasn't compatible.
Right.
You know, I'll smoke outside. Well, you smell of smoke. Somebody doesn't
Right.
want a smoker, for example.
So you really have to match people with similar lifestyles and make sure that they're okay with sharing their space.
Right, and having expectations. You know, do you cook spicy food?
Right.
I don't like spicy food, and that's a big one actually. Spicy
Wow.
food.
Yeah. Who would have guessed? You see everything, don't you?
I see a lot of interesting things. I
Whoa.
would say so.
Now,
So yeah, the home share is something that we're really trying to move forward. It's the only answer. We cannot build enough housing quick enough, and the affordable housing is a farce. It's not affordable. It's
not.
less than the market rate, but it's not subsidized. So
Right.
it's pretty scary out there if you're an older adult and
Right.
you worked hard your whole life and you paid taxes your whole life, and now it's like, I can't live in my home.
In the brief time we have left, I mentioned your awards for the dementia programs that you developed and implemented. What services do you offer within those programs or other programs at Callahan for people with dementia?
So we try to do a lot of consultation and counseling with family members around getting a formal diagnosis for dementia. Now, I'm just old and you forget things, but you need a formal diagnosis that you have Alzheimer's or whatever kind of dementia that you have. So that's the first thing we do. We have a program on Fridays called Continuing Connections, and it's for the person with dementia and their care partner, which is offering their spouse. It could be a granddaughter, it could be a sister. They come every Friday. They do all the things we know are good for brain health: exercise, socialization, different kinds of games, music. They eat lunch together. We have consultants come in. We have support group time. It's wonderful because they're their own support network and they live Alzheimer's. They know how to support each other. Yeah. And then we have a partner volunteer program that I'm starting up again, where I match a volunteer with a person with dementia who comes to the Callahan Center. They pick an activity they want to do, like volleyball, and that volunteer will meet the person at the front door, introduce them to people. They'll play volleyball. They have a cup of coffee. You know, here's the bathroom. Who's picking you up? And so it gives family members a chance to have a little bit of separation, a little bit of respite.
I'm sure they need that.
Absolutely. And it's good for the person, you know, to have camaraderie with people in the community. And
Exactly.
to just walk in is hard to do. You know?
Well, kudos to you for knowing that need existed and developing some wonderful programs, because we hear about how much those programs are valued by the people who need the services.
Right.
So that's great to hear. So you've talked about some hoarding programs, which you now call heavy content.
Yes.
And
hoarding is an important topic. Everybody hoards. Different socioeconomic does not matter.
And you said it was noticed most after the holidays.
Yes, after the holidays is when people go home and they realize, wow, this is getting out of hand. And a lot of times it's older adults, they can't do what they used to do, and they don't want to ask anybody to help them, and then it just sort of piles up. We now call it heavy content. We work closely with the Framingham Fire Department, and we get referrals a lot from the fire department who is asked to go because somebody fell on the ground, and they realize, wow, there's a lot going on in here, it's not safe. It's good for the fire department because they can put in their database, this is where the person sleeps. They don't sleep in their bedroom, there's too much stuff in it. They sleep in the living room, in this chair. It's good for the firemen to know where somebody, you know, definitely.
In case of emergency,
In case of emergency. And then the VNA nurse who goes out after somebody gets hospitalized, it goes home, they're the first person to go into the home and they realize they need some help, a little bit of services. And we try to tell people to be independent and be home as long as possible. You need a little bit of help. A little bit of help will go a long way, and you may have to pay for it because everything costs money.
Right.
You don't automatically get it because you're an older person.
Wow. Well, you provide some incredible resources, and you've been doing this for a long time, so you bring a lot of expertise to the job. So thank you so much for sharing some of that with us today.
Good to be here.
We'll provide people with the phone number so people can call Callahan and inquire about the services if needed.
Great.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
You're welcome.
You know, I want to give special thanks to all my guests from the Callahan Center for joining me today. And I'm sure that listening to them, there were many times you thought to yourself, wow, I didn't know that. So go for it. Check out the Callahan Center if you haven't already. Inquire about the services, take a tour, try a program, attend an event, get on the email list, and spread the word about what you heard today, because more people need to know that the Callahan Center in Framingham has so many services and resources for those who are 55 and older. And word of mouth, as you know, is one of the best ways to get that information out there. Have a great day, and thank you so much for tuning into the Audrey Hall Show, where you will always learn something new.